Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twin Flame Interviews. Today, I have a really good friend of mine called Ya. Is that how you pronounce your name?
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a very interesting name, and it reminds me of Star Wars. But anyway, you were like the first person who ever commented on my TikTok videos when I started making them when I was quite fresh in last year in July, and we started DMing. And I'm really, really grateful because your channel is doing so well as well. And your social media is at Yahya underscore Pandor, Pandor. And I'll put the link in the description anyway and tag you with this. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I can't deny you get your ups and downs. Um, Part of the journey is a roller coaster of emotions, and some days good, some days not so good. I guess. So today's just one of the meh. I call them meh days. Literally, it's just meh. Not good, not bad. Just in between, I guess.
And it's interesting. We'll talk about your journey because you've been on it for over 3 years or maybe three and a half. And
Mhm.
we'll understand the ups and downs and how things purify and whatnot. But before we do that, can you just let our viewers know about the services? Because you provide a few services. What kind of services do you provide and how people can get in touch with you?
So I normally provide like one-to-one coaching on the twin flame journey, group sessions where I'm slightly different from many other coaches, where I remove the focus from the twin and I bring the focus back to the individual. People often call me a navigator, activator. I just call myself me, I guess. It's The group sessions are quite interesting because I present like a slideshow and I map out like a roadmap on what to expect in the journey. And kind of the feedback I get from there is people often say, I didn't realize I've gone through so much of that and I don't feel crazy anymore. And I think when when you come into this journey, the biggest worry we have is feeling crazy, that people are not going to understand us. And on a one-to-one basis, I delve a bit more deeper through I let my intuition lead on my one-to-one coaching, as well as kind of delving more deeper into the individual and kind of getting to the root causes of childhood trauma. Um, if there's kind of regular patterns. And I think what we tend to find on this journey is majority of people are dealing with abandonment and rejection wounds and kind of providing more like therapy through that. So yeah, that's in a nutshell of the services I provide more of. And I guess when you've been on this journey for long enough and your intuition kind of gets a bit more sharper, your natural gifts start flowing to you. So yeah,
Yeah, because you
that's
mentioned before to me that you get downloads for your clients or you get like dreams or like information for them, which is amazing. And this term phrase, I don't know, is it yours? Separation is preparation because I've heard
yes.
other people use that. What's the person's name? Divinely guided, guided space. What's the name? Jessica Mendez.
Mendes.
She's used your phrase. I've heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, I'm not. I don't really go into Jessica Mendes. I mean, she was one of the very first twin flame coaches I started following. I joined TikTok last year June. Well, a bit more earlier, but I had no clue how to use TikTok. So I was always on Instagram, but not very active. And YouTube and Instagram were most of my kind of go-to places to understand the journey. And Jessica Mendes was one of the people I started following on Instagram. But yeah, I've not really come across many people use. Well, I've not come across anyone saying separation is preparation. And I started using certain analogies, and I've had like a few tarot readers who are on the twin flame journey as well kind of comment and DM me saying that certain of my analogies have helped people. So of course, words are powerful. We manifest
Mm.
words. So for
So
me to kind of say, well, if we often say we're in separation, we're going to remain in separation. But if you twist it around and turn it to become preparation, you're preparing yourself for a sacred union. And that's why I say it's preparation.
so every twin flame TikToker or social media person has their own sort of like way or vibe of delivering stuff. My channel is very information. I'm an
Mhm.
information junkie. I learn a lot, I read a lot, and it's all informational. And also, I don't like long videos. I like a 1 minute video, short, simple, sweet, to the point.
Mhm.
And then other people, some of them have like 10-minute long videos. And I mean, I think with Jessica, she's more like talks about things as a story and what's going on. What would your TikTok like vibe be? What would you say was your sort of like way of delivery or what?
So I think from childhood, I've always kind of looked back at feedback to see how people react to me and my content. Well, recently it's more about my content. Many years ago, it would be about seeking validation from people, but now I feel your vibe and your delivery will often attract who it needs to attract.
Mm,
So I don't put out my content based on, oh, I want to be trending. I want my content to reach who it needs to reach. And sometimes I'll do a quick prayer before I create my content, and I let my words naturally flow. Because some people will naturally write down like scripts, whereas me, I'm more of just let the words flow. Um, Timing is, of course, is very crucial. If you were on there for 10 minutes, let's be honest, people would just shut off after 3 minutes. It does genuinely depend on your delivery of it. So I go with the flow and allow my words to flow naturally. um, Sorry, I just allow my words to flow naturally, so I won't ever sit down and say, what should I create today. I'll just allow my intuition to guide me. I tend to try to do it maximum 3 minutes, and I'm not one of the content providers, but I have done it once. So like, oh, don't scroll past this. I'll just allow it to be. And I've also realized, so I'm always wearing black. I used to love wearing black. So since starting creating content, I'm very conscious of the colors I wear. I don't often put captions, but recently my downloads and my intuition has guided me to put captions on it. Um, but I know that if I'm creating content on divine masculines, I'm going to get much more likes and followers. If I create feminine updates, people don't want to know what's happening to the feminines because we attract mostly the divine feminines, and they don't really want to know too much. And I remember having a post where I remember I was actually in the mosque and I was like, oh, I was feeling guided to put a post up, and I was like, what do I post? I have no idea what I need to post. And I didn't post for a while. And mid prayer, it was like, post something for the divine feminines, but put your caption or your subheading as divine masculine update. And it was weird because I don't like deceiving people. And I remember starting off the content and said, are you wanting to know what's happening with the divine masculine? And then I turned it around and said, well, why are you so concerned about them and not focused on you? And then a lot of people commenting said, you got me there. And I think people often want to look over the fence to see what's happening on the other side. And that's kind of like a cheat code, or trying to find a cheat code on this journey from doing your own work and wondering what they're up to. And so, yeah, I think my content is more intuition based and based on collective information I get from the people I coach and kind of their journeys to help people. So, yeah.
So we'll get into that later because I know you're very good at reading collective energy. I wanted to know what was your motivation to start your channel as well.
Oh, interesting. So, what led me to be where I was? Um, about 5 years ago, I used to do a lot of vision boards, right? And at that time, I mean, I look back at it now, and I wanted validation about myself to make myself feel better. So, like, if I posted a picture on Instagram, I wanted like 1,000 likes just to make me feel like I was good enough. But then, when I went through my dark night of the soul, and the dark night of the soul is literally it says what it's on the tin, like literally the darkest nights, and it made me realize that you don't need that external validation; it comes from within. And being in a toxic connection that I had gone through, I was stripped away from every single belief of mine. And when I came out, well, as I was coming out my dark night, I thought, wow, I actually done this alone and without any support, without any tarot reads, without
Spending
knowing
money.
any other twin flames.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, how do I do this? And I thought, remember, I used to sit here on my bedroom floor and do all my shadow work. And it was like, I need to start. I felt my soul guided me to do what I needed to do. And I started posting content about mental health, men's mental health more. because men's mental health is not really spoken about much, and I find that generally a lot of men open up to me about their insecurities and their trauma. And I feel like in society, people have always shut down men when it came to emotions. So I thought, well, I want to make men's mental health awareness a bit more um, open, so people can like it would encourage people to talk more. Um, and then each post led me from one to another, and it started off about shadow work, how to do certain shadow works, and then naturally it guided me to do more twin flame content. Um, but I felt, and one of my clients, I remember he said to me, "You're like the maze runner. You ran through the maze first multiple times, and you got through the most pain, and you had to go through that in order to help others." Um, and as I became a coach, I started realizing, well, yes, there's other people out there who I may have not experienced certain trauma, but I can relate to certain pain. So to give someone assurance and kind of be sympathetic towards them had actually helped me a lot. Um, and it was literally being a teacher. And I find with many coaches, and you may find as well, someone once said to me, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And as you know, on a coach, people naturally navigate towards you. You don't need to go out looking for your soul tribe, I call them. The moment you post something, people will flow to you naturally. And I just allowed things to flow to me. But yeah, I had to go through my dark night to kind of get to where I am today.
And you do a lot of lives, right? Do you have a set time when you do them? Because I always see you on live. You're always on TikTok live. I can barely do it once a week, but just about started. But you're always on live, which is a great time for people to interact with you because you're on live for quite a while, and a lot of people ask you stuff, right, and questions, and you do a lot of work, interactive work.
So again, I think going through the dark night, I think being on this journey for so long, you're stripped away from literally everything. People and things that no longer serve you are stripped away from it. And then, like I said, when you let go of control and resistance, the natural things flow to you, including your soul tribe. So you get replaced. Your friends that you had will be replaced by your soul tribe. Um, Majority of my followers are worldwide. I don't have many in the UK. Funny enough, I actually have a lot of divine feminines from Birmingham. And I was like, why are all the divine feminines in Birmingham? But they're literally worldwide. But most of my followers are from the USA. So when I come on in the night times, it's because I've unwinded. You know, I work a 9 to 5 job. You know, this is just a passion of mine. So I work in like the property industry. So for me to unwind, come home, relax, and then say, right, who's ready for me? And then I'll just go on a live session. It also depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes when you're feeling low, jumping on a live session and seeing what the collective's feeling can kind of help you boost yourself to come from a low vibe into a higher vibe.
There is an energy, do you find, with twin flames when you connect with them? I find it.
Interesting question. It depends on where they are on their journey. So I've because when you've swam through the ocean and got to the other side, and you know how it is, and then you see people who are way behind you on the journey and where you was a couple of years ago, you kind of can relate to it. And then
And be more
sometimes
and be more compassionate.
you can be a bit more compassionate, but then you can also recognize people's
Patterns.
energy to be like chaotic. Like when you see the chaotic energies, you're like literally chill the fuck out. And then you want to like, I did a post recently holding a frying pan. And I have this running joke about hitting people with a frying pan. And sometimes a lot of the divine feminine say to me, and I've also learned how to balance my masculine and feminine energy. So when I'm doing my one-to-one coaching, it's very rare I have to use my masculine energy. Most of the times I'm in a balanced energy. If it's a first session and I'm listening to the traumas, I have to go into a very low feminine energy. But I've come across many people who are in their egos, and then I have to literally
Yeah.
adopt the masculine energy. And it's like having a sword fight with the other person. And one of the interesting ones I had was a young girl, very much in, she was a fire sign, very much, very, very fiery. And it was like, yeah, but I have to do this now. Aries, for example, very, very controlling people. They need to control the outcomes of situations. And she was trying to overpower me in the coaching session. And I will say to her, it was literally like, shut up and sit down. Literally, that's how it was. So you find the more you heal on your journey, you can adapt to people. And I've also, because I can read people's energies, I think growing up, I always disagree with text messaging, for example, because the reader will always read text in the way they want to read it.
Yes.
So when I'm reading comments on my live session, I don't ever invite anyone in, but I read comments. But it's fascinating for me to to sense someone's energy through their text, and it's really weird because a couple of years ago, it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe you meant this. But now I'm like, someone will say something and I will ask them, is this your energy? I had a divine feminine on my session, well, on my live last week. And I said to her, I don't know why I see you running from the window to the door and door to the window. I said, you're very like a lot of frantic energy. And she said, how
Okay.
did you work that out?
Yeah.
So it gives me a vision as I'm talking to people, and that's something that's been enhanced through my shadow work. And I see a lot. I'm a visual person anyway. I always see visions of things happening for me to understand people. So um, my live sessions do help me a lot because it's also like a kind of excitement for yourself.
Yeah, it's like being on
That
stage.
wow,
It's being on stage, right?
exactly. And it's like, wow, I'm actually the leader here. And I've always been a natural leader. So when I've had people say to me, and I say to people so much that please do not put me in a pedestal. I'm not very different from you. I am on the same level as you. And people like, they look up to me and say, oh, you're my guru. Can you tell me why this is happening? I'm like, I didn't put you on this journey. I didn't send you the dreams. I didn't do this for you. I didn't send you the numbers. I didn't send you the tarots. It wasn't me. Like I go through it as a collective with you guys. So I know how it feels. And being on a live session, when people come together, I can kind of work out what the collective energy is. I don't believe so much in astrology, but I believe more in the 3D reality of the here and now. And that last week, I had this weird, I don't want to say weird, but a very warming experience of me and my twin, and it was a vision I was getting, and it felt really warm and loving, and I haven't ever experienced that. And I was talking about it on my live, and a few people said to me, "Oh, well, I experienced that today too." So you're like, "Wow, it's actually happening worldwide," and that's why I always
Was that
encourage other.
was that over just before New Year?
No, this was a couple of days ago, actually.
Oh, okay.
But even coming up towards New Year's, you will find as a collective, I always say to the people in America, oh, by the way, we went through this in the last few days, and they are a few days behind. So they pick up behind us. And it's like you can generally pick up a timeline of how things are going. And I think this is why we know as a collective, like, this is what's happening. And we're like further down the journey, and we report back to the people who are still catching up to you that this is what's ahead. It's like a weather forecast of what's happening on the
Do you
journey.
feel like the people who've been on the journey recently in the last year or so are going through it faster?
Yes, funny enough, I did say that to someone. So I connected with someone on my live last week. She's based in the UK. And I was like, oh, when did you join this? And we call them the new recruits. And I find they're on a fast track, very fast track journey. Um, and for those people who follow me will see I've got a post where I talk about the twin flame bus journey and what the best way to look at it in like a short time frame without going into too much details. You get some feminines who are, so there's this bus, basically we're all on this bus, we don't know where the destination is, but we know we're going on a journey. It's a journey into the unknown. It's a bumpy ride, and the people who have been on this journey are the ones that have done a lot of shadow work, done the healing work, and they're patiently waiting on this bus with a seatbelt on. And there's some people who are more like going through the shadow work, going through childhood trauma healing, who've been through separation, who are in the preparation phase. These people are the ones that are packing their bags. So they're not on the bus yet, but they're outside just tying up loose ends with their bags. And there's some people who are like more in the delusional, not delusional state. They know they're on a twin flame journey, but they don't know if they're really on it. So they're always doubting it. So they haven't even started their shadow work. They haven't done any of the healing. So this bus driver, whoever's driving the bus, is getting a bit impatient, saying, "Time's ticking. We need to get on the bus. Can you not hurry up?" And it's the people who are waiting patiently now having to come off the bus, take their seatbelts off, and come off and help those people who are packing bags to say, "Can you hurry the fuck up and get on the bus?" And what I'm saying to the people who are still contemplating the journey is divine intervention is taking place now. Whether you're ready or not, someone's knocking on your door and we're going to drag you out of the house and get on this bus because we're going somewhere. And you will find, and you might also find this to be the same thing, that we're the ones that are sitting on the bus patiently with our seatbelts on, saying, "Time's ticking, man, hurry up, I've been here, I'm hungry." There's no stops on this journey. Once the bus goes, it goes. So you're either on the bus or off the bus. And I just find that the people who are new to the journey are literally running for this bus and things are falling out their bag. So we have to help back and kind of run back and pick the toys up that are falling out the bag. And that's how I see it. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because the people who have just joined the journey in December 2023 have already been through the healing work and like also excited. And I'm like, hold your horses. You still got a few more stages to go through.
You're like,
But
calm down. You're in the bubble
they also are
phase.
in communication.
So, you said that sometimes you have to get into your masculine energy to kind of like break ego. Do you feel like that's what
Mhm.
mainly the divine masculine does? That's why they trigger the feminines. Is that what they're trying to destroy the egos of the feminine?
So when we look at the whole concept of twin flames, it's always our mirror soul. And I see this more of a religious perspective. So, as a Muslim, we're told in the Quran that God has created man to be physically strong and a woman to be emotionally strong. Now, what society has done has said that man has to be emotionally and physically strong. And because we've been conditioned with this belief, men don't feel men enough or man enough to be for a woman, because a woman will say to him, "You need to be emotionally strong because I need emotional support." So that's a lot of pressure on a man. So the masculine energy is quite, for me, in my opinion, is very devilish energy. It's like we have to be how can I word this? When I say devilish energy, it's not necessarily bad, but it's like a facade that we put on. It's like wearing a false mask, very ego driven. And the feminine energy, or the feminine, is always loving and compassionate. And it's like I always crown my feminines queens. So if it's a female, I'll crown her as a queen, and if it's a physical male, I will crown him a king. Now, when I'm teaching the balancing of energies, I say to them, well, I get them to pick the most powerful queen they've ever known, and I will ask them to think of the opposite, the most compassionate person, and I will ask them to sit there and decide, in this situation, do I deal with someone in my masculine or feminine energy? And it's like, if you were a queen right now, would you allow the public eye to see you are hurting? And they'll be like, no. So in this moment, you would adopt that energy. But men generally always feel they have to be strong. They can't show emotions. Men are not allowed to cry. So when they show that, it shows a sign of weakness. And what I'm trying to say to people, it doesn't matter. It's okay. And then on towards the women, I'm always having to tell them that it's okay for a man to cry, because often you will hear the people who are going through this work, it's expectations that get hurt. And I would say to the women, well, why do you want your man to be this way? It's your expectations. And just because he's not matching your expectations, it doesn't make him the bad person. And it doesn't make you bad for having an expectation. It's just we force things to fit. And when we force things to fit, we get disappointed with ourselves, but we want to blame the other person. It was your fault because you didn't fit that. And I guess it's not just women, it's also men that do that, but men are a bit more discreet with it. No one would openly say, "This is how I'm feeling." I think
That,
I've
and
kind of
that's and that's a lot of it
sidetracked.
to do with a lot of societal conditioning as well, like
It is.
expectations and
It is very, very much society, and I find being on this journey, when you go through your dark night, it's like an onion. Every layer gets peeled away from you, and it starts with religion, society, culture, education. I mean, me personally, I don't like watching the news too much because there's always like scaremongering going on, and it's kind of showing yourself. It's not exactly what's being shown there; it's more to what you see. Um, and you look at things. You literally take off the rose tinted glasses you've been wearing, and you put on a clear lens. And before you enter this journey, it's like the world seems alien to you. But as you go through the ringer, you realize that it's not the world that's alien, you're the alien in this world. And you're different from everyone else because you're now seeing the truth. You've been seeing that for X amount of years. You've been taught something in education. You've been taught something through religion, and you have to learn. You learn to read between the lines to make your own mind up with certain things, and that's the interesting yet challenging part.
So that leads me on to, we're kind of going in a different order, which is fine. I want to know a little
Mhm.
bit about your background, your life, how you got into this whole twin flame stuff. And do you think, and then I'll talk about like, do you think everyone's got a twin flame? And then talk about religion, because I really want to get into that as well, because that's part of your background. So yeah, so anything you want to share about your life, your background, and how you stumbled into twin flames, or did you stumble? Did you manifest? Some people I hear go looking for a twin flame and do various like rituals or something.
I think if you knew what you were getting yourself into, nobody would willingly go into this because it is the most
Horrific.
painful experience you'll have in this life. And I, so when you find is one of the first stages of understanding twin flames is knowing the yearning stage. Your soul is missing, and I always describe it as your soul has its own heartbeat, and we don't realize our soul has its own heartbeat. And it's like your soul is going around and it's got this big hole in it, and you're looking for that missing piece, and you don't know what that missing piece is. So what we do in life is we find these pieces and we force them to fit, and you'll always have like this suction through it because there's gaps in there, and you're looking for the piece to fit, and you
So,
have no idea of what you're looking for. You just know you need to stop that suction coming out. And then all of a sudden, for years and years and years, and many people jump from bed to bed to be in like sexual encounters looking for the one, or you go through multiple relationships looking for the one. And then all of a sudden, you're looking for something and you find that person. Sometimes it's unintentional, and you believe in coincidences, and all of a sudden, bang, you found it. Your soul sees that's my missing piece, and then that's when you start running after it because it's desperate to fit in that piece. So I grew up as a Muslim, standard life. I'm one of seven siblings, so I'm like the second youngest in my family. Have I had intense childhood trauma? No. I've had a very good upbringing. I've come from a good family, um, and I was married. I married, got children. But deep within that you're not 100% happy. You're content with life, but you're not happy. It's like just laying on the beach and just taking up the breeze, and all of a sudden you're not at peace. And then all of a sudden you find someone, the divine orchestrates this coincidental meet, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're sucked into this journey. And that's where you enter into your honeymoon phase. You found what you're looking for, and you're like, wow, this feels bliss. And then it gets intense, and then the runner chaser stuff starts, and then all the toxic behaviors come out, and you're like, why is this so painful? It's always what I've wanted. Why couldn't it come to me easy? Um, so no, I didn't go out. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I was looking for the one. All I know is I was looking for the one. I just didn't know how they were coming. Funny enough, I used to do a lot of law of attraction work before I met my twin. For many years, I was attracting everything I wanted. I was doing vision boards. I used to see through prayer. Whatever I'd ask for, I'm not even joking. I could make a prayer to God, and 10 minutes later, I've seen the answers. And people were like, "Wow, are you practicing black magic?" I'm like, no, I'm just quite powerful with this. And then I remember in 2019, we did an exercise at work where we wrote a letter to ourselves, which we were going to read in the following year. And I had a code word for the person I was looking for. I'm not going to mention the code word, but it used to be my code word. And I wrote in this letter, congratulations, you are now working as this, and this person has now entered your life. That was in 2019. And 2020 is literally when I met my twin. And I didn't even recognize it at first. It's when the soul, it's like a light bulb moment. I met my twin. We were spending time. It was a random conversation, and it's the moment you look into their eyes, you're like, bang. And I never have eye contact with people. I avoid eye contact as much as I can. But with this person, I looked straight in their eyes, and I was sucked into it, and I was like, wow.
so
At that moment, it felt amazing.
when you said that your soul is looking for that missing piece, you can say that certain jigsaw puzzle, the right shape, size, fit. So when you find it, why does the other person run? Why does that happen then?
It's a. I think we need to go and ask the masculines why this is the case. I guess. What are you running for? So when I do talk to people, I'm like, what are you running from? It's you will realize that when you spiritually awaken, you awaken first. Well, the divine feminine wakes up first to the connection, but the divine masculine is also missing something from their life. But the divine masculine also goes through. It's a mirror effect. It's the mirror of you. So they also go through similar trauma. So often, sometimes, if your masculine is younger than you, they don't have the life experience or capacity to deal with certain things. But you will find that all masculines are not running from you, they're actually running from themselves. They don't want to do the inner work. I've come across many clients who are involved in third party situations where um, their twins turn around and the masculine says to them, "You're everything I've wanted in a relationship, but I just don't want it from you. I want it from the person I'm with." The reason why they don't want to go through, they don't want to end, the simple solution would be, if you're not happy in a relationship, walk away from it. You're not serving yourself, you're not being fair to the other person. But because they know that that process involves pain, the masculines run from pain. So they don't want to be going through more pain. So what they do is they blame you for that pain. They blame you that if you didn't come in my life, I would have been okay. I wouldn't have to do the extra work.
But were they
But you
happy?
are,
Were they happy in their life before they met us?
they're not. Most of the times, the masculines are not happy. They're just doing, I always say to people, it's easy to deal with normality than reality. And normality is doing, going to work, working your 9 to 5, coming home, being the happy dad, being the happy wife, or being the happy son, daughter, whatever your condition, whatever your situation is, it's easy to deal with that. But when you have to deal with reality, that involves pain. It's taking off what I call salted plasters, taking off the band-aids and then healing that wound and not having to put any more plasters on it. And that's what people are scared of. People are scared of pain. No one wants to go through emotional pain. We'd rather skip it. We'd rather go to the gym and focus on pumping weights than sitting at home and saying, it's okay, I'm feeling this way, Why am I feeling this way? Is it because 20 years ago someone said this to me or they didn't make me feel good enough? So what we do is we put these big walls up and someone comes along and they literally bulldoze these walls down and you're exposed, you're naked, and you're like, wow, I can't deal with this pain. So the masculine's always running from themselves and the feminine have been woken up and they're like, you're my missing piece. A bit like Cinderella, she leaves her shoe behind and you're looking for the person who it fits, and the shoe has to fit. But the only difference is Cinderella doesn't run from the shoe. She runs from being a princess. So that's what I find in the masculines of why they run.
But eventually, are they forced into facing themselves and um, facing the feminine? Like, how does that all work?
Funny enough, my twin said to me, well, constantly used to say to me, what happens in the darkness always comes to light. So when you're hiding stuff, when you're living in darkness, eventually, where are you going to run to? Who are you running from? You're only running from yourself. You end up running into a wall, and there's no more running. You eventually get tired. You have to take a
Do you
break.
think it
Your
takes?
soul,
Do you think it takes a lot of energy to run?
100%. Why are people always tired?
Mm,
Why are they mentally drained? Is because they're running. They run from themselves. They run from people. They're running because, again, society says you're the bad person. You
mm.
know, when I was in my marriage, I was running from myself. I was running from being who I should have been. Eventually, there came a point where divine intervention took place and said, well, you can't continue doing this. I literally put my hands up and surrendered to my wife. And I said, I'm going to be 100% honest. I can't wear these masks anymore. I don't know which is the real mask. So divine intervention takes place because you can't run from anything.
Because
It's reality.
interesting too with marriage, there are quite a few twin flames who meet obviously later in life at times, and
Mhm.
one of them's married or both of them's married, and then I get questions like, "Oh, I'm married and he's married, but he needs to stop it," and it's like obviously you got out of your marriage, and a lot of feminines don't understand that they're the leader and they have to do the thing first, and then it's mirrored. But it's complicated with kids, and like what advice do you
Yes.
give to people for that?
The first question is, well, as you said that, the first thing that comes to my mind is you can't have the cake and eat it. You
Mm,
can't have the cake and eat it. What did you want? You want to be married, playing happy families, and keep someone on the side.
mm,
Do you deserve that, and do they deserve that? Often the masculines like to keep you as their side piece, to treat you as number two. The question is, why do you want to be number two? Take out the twin flame in it, and you look at yourself. Why are you in a situation? You have to question yourself. Why did it take an individual to come into your life for you to question what you're going through? Right? Most, like I said, it's about normality, being in a relationship. Some people settle, and some people are controlled. You get a lot of narcissist people in this world, and most people who are in certain situations. And again, it depends on culture. I know a lot of Muslim people who say, "Well, divorce is not allowed, or it's not encouraged." So I can't. I have to make things work, but I'm deeply, deeply hurting. I'm not happy. So what do? Is they seek it, and then they go externally and looking for the little puzzles to fit, and some people end up having affairs. And I don't think you intentionally do it because it is a divinely orchestrated thing. And when you look at the twin flame journey, it forces you to do the work on yourself. So it's like saying, well, this ain't serving you. You're not being honest to this person. You're not even being honest to yourself. And this journey is about self discovery, about being truthful, being authentic. And if you're not living a true and authentic life, it will get stripped away from you, and you're given multiple opportunities to fix that. So, yes, if you're in a married situation, in a marriage, you're not happy, or your twin's not happy, you're going to get plenty of opportunities to be honest, not to work your marriage, because let's be honest, when you're on this journey, there's no fighting. You can't control it. It's going to take place. Um, from my experience and based on the collective, marriages or relationships are not meant to be, but you have to understand that everyone comes into our life for a specific reason. So in my situation, I was destined to have children. My wife is an amazing woman. Not only is she beautiful, she's the most amazing woman I've ever come across. But her purpose in my life was for that period, and it's to for me to have children with her. I mean, I've got two wonderful kids, and I know that my son in particular will be following after me, and my daughter also has her own gifts. um, what will happen with the marriage? Your soul will not allow you to continue being, what can I say? Your soul won't allow you to be someone you're not. You literally get upgraded. You have this kind of filter attached to you where it doesn't allow anything that's not authentic. You can't put other things in it.
So that leads me on to
So
the
yeah,
next
it's
question.
definitely
Do you think everyone has a twin flame? And also, how
no.
come some of us meet our twin flame and most of us don't? Like, how does that go about?
Um, I don't believe everyone has a twin flame. Everyone has a soulmate. Me and you are soulmates. Your next door neighbor is your soulmate. Your family are your soulmates. A twin flame. It's a very interesting question because it doesn't. There's no mention of it in religion. There's no mention of it. It's more a twin flame is a modern day term. Has
Yeah,
it
I
been
mean,
going on for years?
In Hinduism, they talk about divine masculine, divine feminine, Shiva, Shakti. Like each god has a goddess, and it's like yin and yang. There's all that going on, but I don't know if it specifically mentions it that way.
Not in particular. There's certain verses in the Quran that will talk about we created you in pairs, but
Okay.
a lot of people, you see, with religion, people look for the literal meaning. If it's not mentioned in there, we have to dismiss it. So often people, and again with religion, sometimes God has given you free will. He's given you your own capacity to understand stuff. You have to understand religion. You have a choice. Your religion is a choice of yours. Some people say, no, we are born into this religion. We have to adopt it. You don't have to. When you get to an understanding age, you have free will to choose what you want. You can choose your religion just like the way you choose your clothes. You don't have to believe in that. It's what your heart and soul will guide you to. So you can look at Adam and Eve. What was their dynamics? They weren't called a twin flame, but when
Yeah.
they came to earth, they never came together. They were separated. They were looking, I mean, they were separated to different parts of the world, and they were just walking. And they I read recently that it was their memories were removed of each other being existed. and they were yearning someone, and they were looking and looking and looking, and they met each other. How, I mean, it's not going to say that specifically in a religious text.
Yeah.
Um, so you have to read between lines as well with religion. It's about understanding what you want to believe.
So do you think everyone's created with their divine counterpart, but not everyone meets their divine counterpart?
It's a very interesting question because we look at religion, and for Islam, for example, as a Muslim, we're told that when you get married, you're completing half your religion. But then you question that when you're born, you're written with a spouse, you have a partner written. But what about those people who have never married or never met someone? Do we then question that that person's defective, or they were never written to have a spouse or a partner? Society and culture, mainly in the Asian culture. I was talking to a woman who's not even on a twin flame journey, and she's getting a lot of pressure from her family to get married. And she's 28, and the pressure is there's something wrong with you if you don't get married by a certain age. But then you forget that what if? And when we look at religion and we say that nothing's a coincidence, everything is planned, why are you forcing someone to get married? When it's their time, it will happen. And if it's not written, like my mom's sister's never been married, she's never had a relationship. Would we look at her as defective? No. She was never destined to have a partner. Would people say something to her now when she's old? No. Would they have said something to her when she was young? Yes. Why are you not married? A lot of people get that pressure from people. But we apply religion when we want to apply. We always apply religion when we feel like it needs to fit. But then we often forget not to apply religion some other times, and that comes down to the core beliefs of conditioning. We're conditioned. Oh, we always brought up in fear of religion. We've never been brought up in the comfort and peace of religion. So as a Muslim, oh, if you do this, you're going to get punished. If you're going to do this, you're going to get punished. Or you're committing sin. It's always about judgment, but we don't talk. We're never encouraged about if you do this, God's going to be pleased. If we do this, that's something that I'm now rewiring myself with to understand. Well, hang on, I'm helping people. Am I giving the right advice or not? The other person has a responsibility to follow the advice. But if I sat there and judged someone and said, well, you're doing this, I've been through it, so I know how difficult it is. Um, but again, are we all? Yes and no. We don't know. I can't say to you, no, Manny, you're not destined to have someone just because your relationships are not working. I can only hope. And on the other aspect, why would you desire something if it's never meant for you? Where did that desire come from? So when we talk about manifestation, a desire is planted in your heart, and you have to ask for it because it's already yours.
Mm.
So I would hope everyone has a counterpart. Yeah. Would everyone want a twin flame? No. I don't think many people can handle it.
So,
So yeah.
with regards to religion, were you always religious? Are you still religious? Have you got closer to God? For me, I went through a phase where I kind of like started using the word universe and whatnot, and now I've gone really deep into God. So, what about you?
So growing up in a strict Muslim family,
Mm.
um, I was very religious. I grew up with my granddad. My granddad used to live with us, and like I said, I have a very big family, not just my siblings, but my extended family is very big. So my house was always like headquarters because my granddad lived there. But we had to make sure we were praying 5 times a day. We had to wake up at dawn, and my granddad used to literally beat us if we didn't pray. So we were forced religion. We had to go to mosque. We had to learn the Quran. Um, do I still? I have a choice to be a Muslim. So I've always wanted to be a Muslim. No, actually, that's wrong. I've always wanted to be a Muslim. That's the wrong word. I have a choice to be a Muslim, and I choose to be a Muslim. Um, do I look at Islam through my own eyes? Yes. I don't look at it how I used to, because I was always told. I mean, when I have these conversations now with people, I always get told, no, that's not God answering you, that's the devil. And I'm like, well, how can you say, do you work on behalf of the devil? Like, how can you confirm to me it's the devil? And often people on this journey will find they will doubt religion, and they start doubting religion. It's not the religion they doubt, it's the people you start doubting. And I've recently said, and I say it a lot to people, I don't like Muslims. It doesn't mean I don't like the religion. I don't like the people, because when I talk about something specifically, I am judged. I
Okay.
am judged on you can't do this and you can't do that, or if you believe that you're this. And I'm like, well, who, do you work for the devil? How can you tell me that's from the devil? If I'm asking God direct and God sends me an answer, that's my belief between me and God.
You know what I
So
hear is some people say that, oh, why would God make me suffer on this journey? You know, if there was a God, wouldn't he want it to be easy and all that kind of stuff?
see, this is an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. So I was coaching a man from Ireland, 52 years old, and I'm not going to mention his name. And if he ever watches this, he'll know it's him. And he approached me on TikTok and he asked me, and he said, "Brother, where did you get this information from?" And it was talking about divine masculine updates. And I said, it's based on the collective and my intuition. And he got in touch with me. He said, "I want to book some coaching." He straight up booked 3 sessions with me, paid me up front. And I was like, "You trust me?" And he's, "Of course I do." I introduced myself. And the moment I told him I was a Muslim, he stopped me. And he said, "I'm a very spiritual person." And he said to me, 2 weeks ago, I got a download and I was specifically told a Muslim man is coming to help me. And he said, "In Ireland, we don't have many Muslim people." And he said, "But when I came across your post, I knew it was you." And I asked him a simple question as I was coaching him. I asked him a question and I said to him, "Are you open to receive?" He said, "Oh, yes, 100%. Anything from God, I am happy to receive. But if it's from a human being, nope, I don't want it from no human being." So I started laughing and I said, "Are you expecting God to come to earth and give it to you in your hand?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Are you expecting God to come down and give it to you in your hand or an angel? Because it can happen. But would you survive it? No. You wouldn't even, you would mostly faint and collapse." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "When you ask for something from God, he will send it to you and it will come through people, right? So you have to be open to receiving through people because you will not accept it through any other means. So when we see our signs and synchronicities, they are shown to us in ways that we will understand it. So I forgot the question you asked, man. I've literally got sidetracked.
The question is when people say that, why would God make
Yes,
me
put you through
suffer?
pain.
Yeah.
Um, Look at it as most of the people on this journey are going through specific trauma, right? They've never complained. They've always been, "Yes, sir," "No, sir," "2 bags full, sir." And it's like God saying, "I've seen what you've been through. I've seen the trauma you've been through. But what I want you to do is become more better. I want you to stand up for yourself." It's all about yourself, this journey. It's not about the twin, it's about you. How much are you going to put up with stuff? So you're literally handpicked and you're taken out from the crowd and put into a dark corner and say, "Find the light now, because I want to give you something that you truly deserve because nobody on this earth has appreciated you enough. Go swim out of this dark ocean and I will support you. You are divinely guided and divinely protected on this journey." So God wants to put you through it because he's trying to get you through his biggest battles. Again, in Islam, we're told that God doesn't burden a soul more than what he can hold. He knows your capacity. Um, he gives you strength. Um, so he will take you out that crowded place where people are not understanding you, people don't appreciate you, and it's becoming a better version of you. So you've been trampled upon, you've been bruised, you've been gone through the worst, and now it's time for you to shine. And you're coming out, and this is what your path is now. We're preparing you for this beautiful thing because of your suffering. Why does God put you through through suffering? Who said God put you through that? We don't know that.
Mm.
We don't know. God will always help you. He will. You ask for help from God, He will help you get through it. We can't say God put me in that situation. How often do we put ourselves in certain situations? So again, it is what it is. You have to get through it. Deal with the here and now, and you'll get the answers later. So yeah,
So, what is the purpose of the twin flame journey?
what is the purpose? This is a very, very interesting question. Um, it's a very interesting question. So I'm still working that out. The world at the moment, the current climate we're living in, is a really, really messed up world. There's more devilish energy than love, right? So twin flames are taught unconditional love, showing people this isn't right, this isn't right, this is wrong. So why is it most of the times when we're on the twin flame journey, the masculines, like I said earlier, are living through devilish energy? you would find a lot of masculines to be narcissistic people, and the feminine breaks that down in the masculine to make him emotional, to say to him, you don't need to be emotionally strong. That's what I'm there for you. I'm here to balance you. You need to go out and do the physical work. Um, and it's to, my personal opinion on this is to restore peace and balance within the earth. If I want to talk about it from a religious perspective, I feel that, so there's, I've not really looked into it much, but I believe, not I believe, I've been told there's about 144,000 twin flames. And what's the purpose of them? My personal, and people might laugh at me or not agree with me, but from a religious perspective, I believe the return of Jesus is quite near. So I believe in Jesus returning. But if a man turned up today and claimed to be Jesus, would we follow him? He needs to have a certain following. Now, if you look at the system we live in and the people we live in are following a very, very devilish energy, which would say more adopts the Antichrist kind of system. So if Jesus is returning, he needs to have a following, and Jesus will return to restore peace and balance on this earth. So my personal opinion on this is, and no one has to accept it or believe it, is to restore peace and balance within the earth, because we've been through so much. Um, Getting rid of the conditioned believing, um, stereotyping, all these labels that have been placed in this world. So when you're on this journey, it removes every single label, and you will be balancing that out for the new generations to follow afterwards. So that's my personal opinion on it.
And how did you know your twin flame was your twin flame? Because a lot of people doubt.
Yes, the doubt is always part of the journey. I doubt mine's today too. I've been on this journey 3.5 years and I still doubt it. Um, you know it within yourself. There's nobody on this earth that can tell you if you're on a twin flame journey or not. And nobody can confirm it to you or deny it. You will always, and I often get asked this, how do I know this is my twin? How do I know it's not a karmic? How do I know it's not a false twin? First of all, there's only one twin. People talk about multiple twin flames. There's no fake of you. Why would there be a false twin flame if there's no faults of you? That's the first thing. Karmic, take away every label. Take away every single label from the person in your life. Don't, we often justify things in life. My wife was an amazing soulmate. Was she my karmic? People say I'm karmic, but I had a good relationship with my wife. Was she my karmic? Good karma, not bad. Um, would she agree with me? No. She might think I was her soulmate, like that we were going to be living together forever. Remove every single label from it. You ask yourself that question. The answers always come within, right? The answers will always be within you. You don't need to go to tarot readers. You don't need to go to psychics. You have all them abilities within you. So when you ask yourself and you ask God, I often ask God, show me a sign, and I'll get confirmation through dreams. I'll get confirmation. I mean, I've had some amazing synchronicities and signs based on me asking these questions. I mean, it could be you can ask for a specific sign and you will get it, but we often doubt it. And you keep asking for more and more signs, but how many more signs you're going to ask for? When the whole point of this is to put your trust and faith into God, not into other people. And God lives within you, right? God even says that in the Quran, I am close to you as your jugular vein. He's within you, He's everywhere. So ask God direct. So we often don't believe it. You know, like I said, with the guy saying, "Oh, I will be open to receiving from God, but not humans." That's because you're expecting God to tell you Himself that this is what it is. You want to hear it from source direct, but you need to trust in a belief of a God you don't see. So if you can trust in a God you don't see, why can't you trust in His plan? Right. So yeah,
Is your twin flame, like divine masculines, generally spiritual or religious? Do they have faith in God, or do they have to learn that, or do they learn that?
again, not all divine feminines believe in a God. They believe in a higher power.
Yeah.
I've spoken to many Christian people who have said that I've had a complete, like, turn in my religion, my beliefs have changed. You will find a lot of divine feminines are more keen and understanding on other people's religions. And what they tend to do is remove all the labels of religion and say, yes, I believe in one thing. Now, masculines, because they live in this strong ego, they want to control everything. Do they want to believe in a god? Yes, a lot of them believe in gods. Do they believe in karma? No, because they try to control it. They feel that they're going to get away with certain things, but karma eventually catches up to them and it whoops their ass. So eventually, as the feminine does her work, the masculine has no choice. The masculine will go following. You will find, I mean, my twin would talk about spiritual stuff but not claim to be spiritual. My twin used to always say to me, I don't believe in the stuff you do. Okay, but you just said that. You just said this. You said that to me the other day. Why are you looking for things? I I remember I had a vision once, and I said to my twin, "Can you tell me before I met you, were you ever sitting at the edge of your bed saying, 'God, please help me'?" And they said yes. And I said, "Were you sitting like this?" And I put my arm out on the bed, and they said yes. And I said, "You do realize you called me into your life?" That's all I said. You called me into your life. Same way I've been calling you into my life for ages. You've done exactly the same. But what you've done is not recognized and said, "Oh God, I don't want this now because it's too good to be true. I don't want this. I want to go back to normality." Um, Eventually, when they go through their dark night and they go through their karmic lessons, yes, where do they turn to? God, please, God, help me. I need help. I can't run to coping mechanisms.
So how do they heal then? So often the divine feminine is inner work, spiritual work, God, working with God. How do the masculines heal?
Running gets tiring. You stop running and then you sit down. And then apart from the feminine pushing him into the healing, because of naturally, energetically, we push them. We also send them love. We can send them support and encouragement, but we can't do the work for them. But eventually, when they stop running, they sit through the pain. And even if you look through your life lessons, what did you learn from it? When you get intensely hurt, you can hit the gym. How much gym are you going to run to? You know, you can go for a run every day. How much are you going to run? Divine intervention always takes place. If you, as a divine feminine, have been picked from one corner and put into the other side, you think that's going to be the case. There's no justice in that. So if you believe strongly in a God, we have to believe that God is just. There's justice there. So why would God put you through it and not that person? Why did you have to go through the intense pain and go through the washing machine and they're being put out to dry and your masculine doesn't? There will be no justice in that. We have to go through the lessons. One person has to lead. Again, the feminine is the emotional leader. So she has to go through the intense emotions for her to lead the masculine through the emotional side. He will then have to worry about the physical aspects, making sure you got enough money, making sure you got a place to live, making sure that there's food on the table if you're in a male female connection, if you're going to have kids, making sure that he can do that, getting rid of codependent issues, codependencies, certain addiction, drugs, alcohol, all that he has to heal. You have to emotions hurt, so you do that, but you will also support him, and he will. And based on the collective at the moment, what I'm seeing is the masculines are literally going through it, and the feminines are like, "I'm not helping you. I done it alone. You do it." And that's why they're returning to their feminines. It's like coming home to mum.
So you said that the feminines must do the emotional work. So what healing inner work tips and tricks must the feminines do?
Self worth is the main one. Standing up for self worth, being fair, childhood trauma, understanding, dealing with abandonment and rejection wounds, like understanding why certain things took place in life, understanding society, for example, if you were in an Asian household and you're forced into marriage, is that right? Why do we need to accept what people are telling us to do? To not be backed into a corner, but to stand out from the crowd. Um, it's finding your voice. I find that's what most of the emotional healing we have to do. You'll find a lot of people go through childhood abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, having to heal with that. Does that person deserve forgiveness? Realistically, no. But it's about understanding and forgiving yourself to understand that you didn't have to. You didn't. There was nothing wrong with you, and it's about understanding why people don't choose you if you're not choosing yourself.
And does the
Um,
masculine do the same type of work, or is it different for them?
each connection is different, but if I talk about my own, I think childhood traumas are similar. When we look at childhood traumas, it's about not being heard, and you have to find a way to scream to be heard, and then you realize that you don't need to scream to be heard. You should be heard. Another thing is like saying, "I'm one of the best hosts. I'm putting out a table of food, and I want to make sure that you all eat before I eat, and there's no food left." And then you're going hungry, but this journey teaches you that you don't have to do that. You can sit down and eat with everyone and serve at the same time. So you're not the victim in this anymore. So it takes you out of victim, being the victim, to being your true version of yourself.
And then the masculine's healing, it's similar or it's different?
Well, I haven't yet come across a masculine who's going through healing. I'm pretty much sure I will. I remember I met a guy who was very young. He was 22, 23, and he was very, very spiritual. He was black. He was a Rasta. He was very, very spiritual. And I was talking to him about twin flames, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm in a connection." I said, "Why are you running for?" He said, "I'm just not ready." What you're not ready for? And you ask them these questions, and they come back, and they're like, you trigger something within them to keep them thinking. Um, it's about taking ownership and responsibility of yourself and your actions. And this guy was literally sat with me, and he was thinking, "Yes, I'm wrong." And even my divine masculine, when I talk to them, it's about understanding. And they say to you, "Yes, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that." And it's it's very different. Every dynamic is different. I can't say yes or no to a specific
Mm.
question. Everyone's on a similar journey yet different.
What's interesting is the last couple of weeks or month or two, I've been speaking with a lot of divine masculines, also doing coaching with them, and also interviewing quite a lot on here, and they are working on themselves.
Mhm.
Um, you were going to mention stuff about the divine masculine's ego and also like mental health, and because when the divine masculine returns, how does the feminine go about forgiving all that they've done? Firstly, and then we'll talk about the other things I just mentioned.
It's so forgiveness is taught to you in your dark night of the soul. And I learnt this in my dark night of the soul. I was faced with one of my truths of one of my exes. I was with my ex for about 5 years. It didn't end quite well. And I was sitting in my dark night, and I said to myself, um, it took me about 7 years to forgive my ex for what they put me through. It was a narcissistic relationship on both parts. 7 years it took me just to come to terms with forgiving them. I was holding on to resentment so much. Then I realized, well, hang on, my ex is still living their life. They're happy. I can see it because I know. But who suffered the most was me. Even though they're living their life, got beautiful kids, living their life, I should be happy for them. But it was me holding on to resentment because I didn't want you to be better than me because you controlled my life and you done this to me. But then when I looked at the damage with my twin, although I was never in a romantic connection with my twin, the damage was much more greater and the losses were much more greater. And I said to myself, I am not putting myself through another 7 years of resentment for someone. And I sat with it and I understood why I went through what I did. And you find that forgiveness is key. Now, healing is a lifelong journey. There's no end to healing. You will continue healing. So when you come towards union, you have to heal together. So when you've already forgiven them, you get tested by them. You get tested by soulmates. You get tested by your family. You get tested by your co-workers. You might even find a soulmate you start dating and you get tested through them. And then all of a sudden, you go through this checklist and you pass everything. And then your twin comes in and tests you. So it's like now you're faced with your divine masculine. It's the same body, same person, but different energy. So how do you now merge these together? It's like dating someone different but the same person, if that makes sense. So your twins done all the hard work. They're totally different from how they was a couple of years ago. And it's like, how do you mold that? Like, for example, I've done coaching. I'm doing coaching on a regular basis. How do I now balance that out with my twin? What kind of issues would I need to face with my twin and heal his trust issues, abandonment? Because you've left before. How do I know you're not going to do it again? Um, when they come back, how do I know you're not going to turn to toxic behaviors or put me in a third party situation? How do I know you're not going to do? You have to learn to heal that together and start trusting and forgiving that person. Um, there's no right or wrong answer. There's definitely no right or wrong answer. But when the masculine does return, he comes back wounded. He comes back wounded, and you have to be Florence Nightingale to help him, I think, bandage them wounds. And it does seem unfair because you had to do it alone, and now you have to help them.
Yeah, like
But apparently, that's what you signed up for.
when you're in separation, technically you're not in a committed relationship with them. So do they justify that by saying I wasn't talking to you, so I can do whatever I want?
Technically, yes. Technically, yes. Will your soul allow you to? That's the other question.
Yeah.
The divine feminines mainly, and I can't speak for the masculines because the masculines do go to third party. They go through all of them rebound phases and all sorts. But the feminines you will find become celibate. They don't. Your soul will eventually stop you from doing things that are not true or authentic to you.
Mm.
You will go on dates and you will go through toxic patterns, or a new masculine comes in and they teach you how you should have been loved, and they show you things from a different. And what often happens is the feminine say, "Oh well, I'm going to settle for this soulmate. Forget my twin." I'm like, "Good luck. It's only going to last about 3 months." And then they will do their part and they will good. They'll say goodbye. Eventually, you will be like, "Well, my soul's rejecting this person. I can't sleep with this person. I can't do with that person." And you're like, "Why am I by myself now?" That's because you have to learn to be independent and self-loving and practice
So
all this before anything
those
else can happen.
what about those divine feminines who claim to be twin flames, um, reject their masculine, and then get married to soulmates and are having kids with them and been with them for years? Do you feel like they are not true twin flames, or they're still being haunted by? I have heard from them. They say I still feel my twin flame every day, but I'm married now. I don't want to be with him. He was too toxic.
Interesting question because, like I said earlier, we can't tell anyone if you're a true twin flame or not.
Mm,
Only you know it. So if you're in a connection with someone else and you're trying to come off the journey, why are you still feeling them then? Why are you still yearning them?
so do you think
And you've made that conscious choice.
do all
So
twin flames
are
come into
you
union then?
running away from yourself? Because I know a lot of people who say they're happy with their soulmates. Some people are still running. Like realistically, you're running. Why are you running from yourself now? So just because you didn't get what you want or at that moment, it doesn't mean you look for the easy way out. I mean, I've tried stepping off this journey and I got tortured. I got tortured with the signs and synchronicities, the moments where you feel like, and it happens during your dark night because sometimes it's the feminine that initiates separation and has to go complete no contact. And separation is the most crucial part of this journey, yet the most fucking painful part. And the feminine triggers it, but she also gets tortured for it. It's like, why? And I went through intense torture, and you have to come back to this journey. There's no stepping off this journey.
And
Yeah.
that's why you have this thing about when the masculine returns, the feminine's like so annoyed of what he did, so she rejects him, but then she hurts herself because she's holding on to the resentment. Do you
Yeah.
feel all twin flames are meant to be in union? Because
Interesting question.
I hear some twin flames and they say to me, "Oh, it's not in this lifetime, not for me. It's another lifetime."
Why would you face it in the 3D then if you aren't meant to be together? Then you're just saying that God's not providing you justice. Why would He allow you to bake a cake and not eat it?
Yeah.
No, you're making the true authentic cake. You know, sometimes we say you can't have the cake and eat it, and someone says, "Well, I baked it, I can eat it," but you've put the true ingredients in now. Why would you go through all of that? If God is saying that I'm honest, I'm truthful, why would He dangle a carrot in front of you and not give you it if you ain't done the work for it? Why would you enter a race and not get the prize? Like, so for me personally, that's doubtful. If you say, "Well, we're not meant to be together," then
Mm.
why are you doubting it? Why are you doubting yourself? Um, I like to believe in the here and now, what's in front of me, and then Yeah. So no, the answer is of course, union's meant to be.
Okay. So
Of
we've just
course.
got a few more minutes left, and I just wanted to
So
finalize with two quick questions. One about mental health on the journey, and the last one about surrendering, how to truly surrender. And we've got a few
mental
minutes.
health,
Yeah.
definitely. It's I have lost a good friend on this journey. He was a divine masculine. His divine feminine took her life because she was married and she saw no way out of it. Um, she took her life, and then he went into a downward spiral and also took his life. Mental health is very, very important. Now, there's many things around mental health. Some people have health issues as well that even us coaches can't help.
Yeah.
We're not qualified health practitioners to help with certain things. You do need intense therapy as well because some things you can't do alone. When you let go of control and resistance, all the correct tools flow to you, and your soul will guide you towards the correct support it needs. But I remember I had to go for therapy. I had to go for therapy because I had no one to talk to. And I remember my therapist saying to me, "You don't really need it." I said, "Well, I don't have anyone else to talk to." So it's a form of release, and I'm always a fond like supporter. I think everyone should go through therapy at least once in their life. Um, Mental health is very key because you think you're going crazy, and normal people who are not on this journey. When I say normal, sorry, we're all normal, but when other people will not understand the intensity of this connection, so
Yeah.
you can talk to your friends or your family, and the first thing they say is get over it and get with someone else. They don't understand the connection, so it's important to speak so you don't feel like you're going crazy. Um,
So, when the divine feminine's going crazy and obsessed, is the masculine getting obsessed, or do they get obsessed later?
um, I'm yet to see the obsession. I would love to be obsessed over, so I don't know. um, the feminines get obsessed because they want a quick fix. They don't want to go through the work. So they see this big fantasy and it's like, no, 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 you can't skip it. The obsession is part of something. What are you obsessed with? They're not a drug, and we often see them as a drug. We need it. It's about questioning yourself. Why are you so obsessed with this person?
Mm,
Most of the times it's because you want something, and we always chase things that we can't get. Um,
mm. So that leads me on to surrender quite nicely. So, how do you surrender?
Yes. Surrender. I was asking somebody the other day, what does surrender feel like? How do you know you've surrendered or detached? It's a very long process. I used to think I'm going to say, right, God, I surrender. You're in charge of my life. And then tomorrow you're back in square one and you're like, shit, I haven't surrendered. How do you surrender? Um, it's like defeat, accepting defeat that you're not in control.
Mm,
Nothing is in your control. There's a higher power there. He
yeah.
controls everything. So how can we say we believe in a God and trust in a God when we are not trusting him to bring us what we desire? So it's about understanding that, and and we often go hard on ourselves when we don't know them or we can't master surrender. I'm not even joking. Have I got to surrender? I don't know. I don't know what surrender feels like. I don't know what detachment feels like until I get there. Your interpretation of it will be totally different to mine.
Yeah.
And I guess we will, if we'll get there one day. And we've done it before with multiple things. When you apply for a job, you know that you've got the qualifications, you know you're going to get interviewed. Why don't you stress or chase it? Because you know it's coming for you. But it's because we don't have control on this and we really want it, we often obsess over it. But this journey will teach you, it will humble you. Eventually, you'll get there to just relax and do nothing. So I can't give you an exact answer.
Thank you very much,
You're
Yahya,
welcome.
for today's interview. I look forward to speaking to you in the future as well.
Of
We've been
course.
in touch since the beginning of like our TikTok journey, and
Yes.
it's a great thing to see, like, people being helped and supported by the work we do. So thank you
Mhm.
very much, and
You're
I
welcome. Thank you for having me.
wish you all the best and
No
continue
worries.
helping all the wonderful people out
Of
there.
course. Of course, 100%. Thank you.